Hello and welcome to the Wodka Sports Factory. I'm your host, William Wodka. In the BCS Championship Series, it all comes down to this week. A lot of hoopla has been coming around about how the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are ranked number one for the first time in franchise history. This is a team that has looked dominant at times. They play this week on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. against the USC Trojans. Many people are picking Fighting Irish to end up undefeated and get into the BCS championship game. But can Notre Dame upset USC? I don't think that there is a clear-cut winner in this game. A lot of times, both teams have looked great, and at times they have looked decent, but not playing up to their best of ability. Looking at USC to start off with, they have had key losses throughout the season so far. They've had losses to Oregon, Arizona, UCLA, as well as Stanford. Now, looking at this USC team, they are going to be without their star quarterback, Matt Barkley, for this game. Nate Kiffin already had ruled out Barkley this past Monday, just a couple days after he was injured and taken out of the game late against UCLA, in which, again, USC had lost 38 to 24. Now, this USC offense is going to be coming in with another decent quarterback, a freshman though, who hasn't had as much playing time. We are, of course, talking about Max Wittick. Wittick has only played in 3 games, but he also has had a completion percentage of better than 90. He has thrown 8 completions on 9 attempts for 95 yards. This is a guy that fits in the USC offense. He is not as mobile, but Matt Barkley hasn't been as mobile either. A lot of times when USC relies on the ball, they worry about using play action passes to get down the field. Now, this also is a USC team that has dual running backs just like Notre Dame. USC is using Curtis McNeil and Silas Red to get from the backfield and get positive yardage on the run. Now, looking at the USC team, I have seen some faults in this team. They tend to give up a lot of their points during the second half. In total, 6 of their 11 games played this season, they let the opponent get back into the game with late scores in the third and fourth quarters. Now, looking at this Notre Dame team, I do say that there isn't real clear-cut winner in this because Notre Dame has not looked as great in some games. If you remember, they had a great game against Stanford where they did win in overtime, but then again, when you look at this offense, they just get the minimal amount of points that they need. Their biggest margin of victory came into game 1 of the season when they played in Ireland against Navy. They ended up blowing Navy out 50 to 10. There's only been 2 other games where the Irish have blown out their opponents. The Stanford game, like I was saying, was a game where they went in and they had an opportunity to win it in regulation, but their defense gave up some key plays that let Stanford back into the game and force overtime. Now, Notre Dame did end up winning this game, and that is one of their accomplishments during this season where I think that they could come out on top against this USC team. But then again, they have had some faults, and mainly I'm looking at the game against Pittsburgh. This was a Pittsburgh team coming into that game that was only 4-6 on the season and was having a terrible time playing in the Big East Conference. And looking at this game, they barely won that. Notre Dame barely won, They had to go to 3 overtimes in order to get a field goal that would result in the game-winning score. Now, this Notre Dame offense also does not have a franchise quarterback, unlike USC, who has been banking off of Matt Barkley. Notre Dame has been relying on 3 different quarterbacks. They have started off with redshirt freshman Everett Golson, who has been taking a number of snaps for Notre Dame this season. And through the last couple of weeks, he has played and performed better than he has earlier in the season when they kept that switching back and forth through two quarterbacks. Their other quarterbacks include junior Tommy Reese, as well as another junior, and Andrew Hendricks. Now, both of these guys do have decent numbers, but Everett has taken over control of this offense, which is decent for this Notre Dame offense. They finally have figured out who to lead their team to victory. Now, as like USC, this Notre Dame offense does also rely on dual running backs. They have Theo Reddick and Sierra Wood. Sierra Wood, who is listed in the depth chart second to Theo Reddick, has been taking numerous snaps for this offense, as well as getting clear runs. He is able to explode through the offensive line and get yardage to move the ball down the field. Now, like I said, this isn't a clear-cut win for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish because they tend to keep their opponents in the game as well as not get those key plays to force turnovers or to even get points off of turnovers. If you see a lot of times in their box scores, they have only had about 3 to 7 points in a quarter multiple times. Like I said, they allow their opposing team to stay in the game, and that is a tough team to play. USC is a tough team to play against. Again, without the controversy that led to the Oregon USC game, in which USC was found to be deflating the footballs, they put up a total of 48 points against Oregon. This is an Oregon team that had been playing all season, getting blown out wins, uh, keeping their opposing team to a minimum of less than 20 points a game. But USC was able to come in against Oregon, though they did lose. They were able to get plus 40 points. Now, like I said, I don't think this is a clear-cut win, but for Notre Dame to win this game, they do have to rely on their offense, and they do have a stout defense who, as of late, has been giving up minimum points in the fourth quarter, which helps for their offense because, as of late, their offense has been exploding in the fourth quarter. They have been getting upwards of 14 to 21 points just in the fourth quarter alone. So, for this USC defense to stay in the game, they need to make sure that they worry about keeping the Notre Dame Fighting Irish offense in front of them. I just don't see this being as as far apart as it should be. I think Notre Dame will kind of pull away with it towards the end, but it will be seen if USC can hang in there with their redshirt freshman coming into the game. And like I said, he was 8 of 9 so far in the season. He's only gotten in the game 3 different games. He has a total of 95 yards passing, no interceptions, and no TDs. But he has been playing exceptionally well, and Max Wittek does believe that USC does have a fighting chance against this Notre Dame defense, and we will look for that to be a great game. Other games that are going to be a factor in the BCS standings include Georgia Tech going up against Georgia. That's at noon on ESPN, as well as Florida versus Florida State at 3:30. We have Auburn is playing at Alabama on CBS at 3:30, and Oregon is playing probably one of their tougher games of this season against Oregon State. Oregon State has been a team that throughout the entire season has been a surprise pick for a lot of people. Nobody expected that Oregon State was going to be undefeated up until week 8, and they were at best ranked 7th in the BCS standings. This is an Oregon State team that threatens a lot and has an opportunity to really upset Oregon and put a whirlwind into the BCS standings. The other team that we are looking at in the top 5 of the BCS standings is Kansas State. They are off this week and will play December 1st against Texas. 16th ranked Texas plays against TCU this week. So, with all that in mind, it is going to be hard whether or not Notre Dame will remain as the number 1 ranked team in America. But if Notre Dame can secure a win against USC, which it could be hard playing how they do on defense and sometimes on offense, USC could stick around for this game. Ultimately, I think that Notre Dame will squeeze another win out and get into that BCS championship game. Who they play will matter on who wins in the Georgia Tech game as well as the Alabama Auburn game. I think Auburn has a good chance of upsetting an Alabama team that hasn't been playing as well ever since they had that one loss to Texas A&M. Alabama did play a soft Division One team last week and was able to come out with a big win that was able to kind of boost the morale for this team. But it is to remain to be seen if Alabama can still hang with the tough teams in the SEC. If Alabama does somehow lose this game, look for Georgia or Florida to play for the BCS championship game. I'm William Wodka, and you are listening to the Wodka Sports Factory.